Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of My Sunderland 11. As always, we are in association with the Sunderland Food Bank and the Sunderland Fans Museum. Please go and check them out. Links are in the description below. Today's guest, we have another ex-Sunderland player. He was also a Sunderland player at the time of when we won the 1973 FA Cup final. Everyone should remember him. Maurice Hepworth is with us. How you doing, Maurice?
Yeah, good. I'm fine, thank you, Matthew. Very good.
Yeah, very good. How have the past few months been for you?
Past few months for me, from a business point of view, it's been really tough because I'm self-employed. I have my own leadership company, and obviously with lockdown, I haven't been able to work one-to-one or as a group. So it's been quite tough business-wise, but it's given me an opportunity to design some new work and also collect my thoughts on what's really important and what isn't important. So, and we also had a couple of very difficult scenarios in our family, which has caused us some real heartache. But we're getting there.
Yeah, of course. I think everyone who's sort of running a business, my dad, for example, it's found it very, very difficult in these times. But also, the other thing that comes with that, football has been completely changed. How have you sort of found football in these past few months? Because with no fans, it sort of feels like nothing really.
I agree with you. Well said. One of the biggest things for me is always, ever since I was going back years till when I was at Sunderland, started off there. It's all about the fans, and we take our fans for granted. And from a football point of view, it's a little bit same old. Not a lot of. I mean, I miss the atmosphere. I miss the fans, and it just proves, how important they are to the actual game of football.
Yeah, absolutely are. So I mean, I want to sort of, I really want to get into talking to you about football because of when you were actually a Sunderland player and at the time as well, what we did achieve. But if I take you sort of right back to the beginning, now I believe you were born in Hexham in Northumberland. So were you a Sunderland fan growing up, or did you support another team that were close by as well?
Tell you what, Matthew, not a lot of people know this, but I signed schoolboy for Newcastle for 3 years. And my dad used to take me Tuesday and Thursday nights to St. James's Park. And I thought I was going to sign apprentice for Newcastle. And then one day, a letter arrived, and I never knew about this letter until years later when my dad and I had a good chat. Saying that, sorry, we're not going to sign your son after all, and thanks very much. So that happened, I think it was a Friday. The following Sunday, I had a youth game for West Tyne boys against Newcastle boys. Peter Tueart was playing. I think Chris Guthrie was playing as well. And I played that day, and I scored 2, and I had one of those games where, you're right in the groove. And at that game was a guy called Lenny Heppel, who was Pop Robson's father-in-law. And Lenny knew Alan Brown really well. So Lenny phoned Alan Brown and said, hey, listen, got this kid for you. You might want to come and have a look. So next week, a week later, I was invited to a trial at Roker Park for a week. Ian McFarlane was the coach. We had a great time, and then on the Saturday, I played against Middlesbrough youth team at Hendon, and I'll tell you what, it was so funny, Matthew. I pitched, the lads are all there in Tim's, suits, and they look the business, and I pitched up in a pair of Sea Dogs and a Wrangler jacket, so the country bumpkin. That took a while to lose. But anyway, long story short, we beat Middlesbrough 3-0. I made 1 and scored 1, and I was offered an apprentice contract with Sunderland. And can I tell you another story?
Go on. Yeah.
Alan Brown personally came up to sign me at a little village called Barrisford, which is where I lived, near Hexham. And I tell you what, the whole village was outside my front door, waiting for Brownie to come and sign us in a 1600E Ford Cortina Silver. And he got on great. My granddad and him raised budgies together. So it was just the most incredible night. So there you go.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. So you mean, so would you say you're a Newcastle fan actually growing up then?
Sorry, but I have to tell you, yes, I was.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I was. Yeah.
but I mean, you kind of after all of that, after all those stories and all those good times. I mean, I guess, I mean, you change into a red and white.
Oh, you could very, very, very quickly, Matthew. When I came to Sunderland, 69 as an apprentice, it was only 35 miles from my door to Roker Park, but it could have been 35,000 miles. I was so lonely. I went to the digs, and it took me ages to get this country. I was a right mammy's boy, and it took me ages to get this country bumpkin out of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, at the time you did become a Sunderland player, we did get to obviously the 1973 FA Cup final, and obviously winning that. Now I'm sure you know everyone who I speak to who's been at that final, they'd say, you know, by far the 1973 Cup final was, you know, the greatest moment of their life. Really, it's the greatest moment of their life. But for you, who was someone who was around those players, and you know they went on the pitch and won, what did you sort of remember from that?
My time at Sunderland, I mean, I had a fantastic time. It was a total privilege from 69 to 75. The cup final itself, the Wednesday before the cup final on Saturday, we were all due to go down to Wembley, and 3 or 4 of the guys came back, didn't go because we were playing Middlesbrough in a reserve cup final that night at Roker Park. And I was captain of the reserves, and first minute, I got the ball played back to me, and a guy called Tony McAndrew from Middlesbrough, who him and I had he was captain of Middlesbrough, I was captain of Sunderland, and we had some serious kicking matches, like. And he tackled me. I played a ball 25-yarder out to a guy called Chris Kent, who could catch pigeons, Chris, like. And Tony McAndrew kneed me in the stomach, and it ruptured my spleen, burst duodenum, ruptured bowel. And Johnny Waters and Martin Harvey saved my life that night. And the ambulance came, and I was, you know, it was touch and go whether I was going to survive or not. So I don't, you know, I was in hospital when the FA Cup was won by Sunderland. I knew nothing about what was going on. I was in the danger list for 2 weeks. But the first time I realised was I'm in a drugged up stupor, and I think it's the Monday or Tuesday. The coach stopped on the way in to the ground to celebrate, and I woke up, and here's Bob and all the lads at the bottom of the bed with the FA Cup. So they all came in, and it was just, I mean, it was what I needed, really, because it was so encouraging. And Stoko came over and whispered in my ear. He said, "Look," he said, "don't worry, son. I'll give you a 2-year contract. You just get well." And then the first time I actually saw the match, Matthew, was my wife bought me the CD on I think it was my 40th birthday. And that's the first time I saw the whole game. And I mean, obviously I've been around everything, you know, the run-in, all the games. I mean, I remember Bobby saying to us, Bobby Kerr, before the Arsenal game, it was the Friday, we'd been training at Washington. And I looked at him and I said, "Hey, wee man," I said, "what's going to happen tomorrow?" He says, "We are going to win, and we are going to win the cup, I'll tell you now." So, I mean, I could tell you so many stories, Matthew. We'll be here all day, man. But, so I missed the cup final. But I'm still alive, and there's a whole lot of things that's gone on in my life since that moment, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you always think that? I mean, as Stokoe said, he was so confident that we were going to win. But when you saw, we got to Wembley against Leeds United, and at the time, Leeds United were one of the best teams in the world. Did you really? Did you honestly think you were thinking all these group of players? It's a great opportunity to go to Wembley and play Leeds. But did you really believe that we were going to definitely win that day?
Yeah, honestly, Matthew, if you were in amongst those players, right? I mean, Hughesy. I mean, Hughesy was, there was such a relaxed atmosphere in the club. As soon as Stokoe came in, things changed, And I mean, Alan Brown gave me my debut. I loved the guy, but he was a totally different kettle of fish. He was very intense, And Bob came in and chilled all the lads out. And when we got on that run, I'm not honestly. People say your name's on the cup. I'm telling you, it definitely was. So for me, it was never ever in doubt, because he had some serious characters in that team, Mike. Honestly.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's where obviously that was the last time we won a major honor and really achieved something. And I think by the way people talk about it, it was like the belief that got them over the line, from the manager to the players, no matter who they were. When they played teams, they always had that belief.
Absolutely, but the fans. Hey, let's not. Hey, you won't remember this, Matty. I don't think, but if you're at Roker Park and you've got 40,000 fans,
Yeah.
hey, trust me, that is. So that was the fans' cup final as much as the players. But so for me, I mean, just a privilege to have been there, even though I missed the game. Just to to be in amongst it. It was you couldn't write it, Matthew. Seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that was by far your best Sunderland memory, or is there something else, like maybe like a debut or a goal that you scored? Is there anything else that sticks out as your best Sunderland memory?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, there's two. One was my debut at Bolton. 17, not many kids make a debut at 17, and what a day that was. I remember the phone call I got from Alan Brown saying, meet us at Roker Park. It was Easter Monday, and meet us at Roker Park, 9 o'clock. You're in the squad. And my dad brought me down from Beresford, as he used to do, and dropped me off, and away we went. I mean, that is a separate story. I mean, it was just unbelievable. What a day. And we won 3-1. And Martin Harvey got me through that game. He was class. I played left back. He played sweeper. And all the lads were there. Monty, Porter, Bobby Kerr, Hughesy, Dave Watson. They were all playing. Tueart. And what a day. Unbelievable. So anybody who's made a debut, that has got to be one of the top two things in their life, like, as a player.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of a lot of footballers still speak about it now, because it was that first opportunity that they got to really prove themselves of who they are. So that's fantastic to hear you talk about that. A little bit sort of after your football career, you were the chairman of I think it was the Sunderland Ex-Players Association as well, I've heard. What was that like, and how did you get into that?
Oh, it was a total privilege. I mean, Mickey, I think about 7 years ago, Mickey phoned me up, Mickey Horswell, and said, "Hey, listen, we've got a place on the committee. Do you fancy joining us?" And I was really honoured, actually. So I joined the committee. Monty, Dick, Richie Pitts, a lot of the guys were on there, and I was on for a couple of years, and we did a lot of work for charity, a lot of work behind the scenes people weren't aware of. We raised a lot of money and helped a lot of people. And so I think after about 2 years, Winston Young, rest in peace, Winston, what a guy. He set us Sunderland former players up, and he asked me, would I like to be secretary and treasurer? Now, I was busy with my own business, so I didn't realize just what that meant, and it was a huge job. But so I did that for years, And it was, again, I met some wonderful ex-players. We had some great AGMs. We had some wonderful nights at the Stadium of Light. And again, the fans, everything we did, the fans of Sunderland Football Club helped us and reacted and supported us. And then I had the privilege of taking over from Gary Bennett as chairman for a year. And we raised quite a bit of money for prostate cancer that year, because that year I got prostate cancer and stage 4, and it was touch and go for a while. So it was a very emotional chairmanship that I had. But again, there were some unbelievable people, and I had the privilege to meet a lot of older players, ex-players, the younger ones from the 80s and 90s. But unfortunately nowadays, and sadly, and I remember Dick Malone saying this to me, we're not going to be able to keep this going, because the loyalty and the love of the football club from the players is no longer there, because of the way the game's gone now, And actually, I think that's probably true, which is really sad.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. But I mean, it was a great thing. You had going there, as well. I've just sort of thought of this thing to ask you now, and that's sort of to do with winning the 73. Why is it? In your opinion, that after all of in the past few years as well, with what's going on currently at the football club, because we can't forget we've had a great history. We've won 6 league titles. We've won 2 FA Cups. Why is it, do you think, we've never won anything since 73? Because we got to the final of 2014. We've been through some rounds of the FA Cup, but we've never actually got over the final hurdle, or actually taken that final step.
That's a great question. And again, this is my answer. Everything on here it's my Maurice Hepworth saying it. I think we lost momentum. We had a great chance in 74, 75. We lost Dennis. We lost Mickey, and we missed the momentum when maybe we could have had a couple of players there and pushed on to get promotion. So I think that was the start of. There's never been a lot of patience at the club, and if I look at the last 10 years, Matthew, you look from, and again, I love the club, but we look from the top down, and we look at some of the decisions that have been made, both from a business point of view and a personal point of view and political point of view, whatever you want to call it. And people used to give Ellis a lot of stick, right? And Bob Murray, so Bob Murray handed over the mantle. Bob worked hard for the club. We didn't, in the Peter Reid era and stuff like that. We were so close with Peter, 2 players, maybe 3 players, and again, we just didn't get there. And that's not for the one to try and buy Bob Murray. And then we had Ellis, who, and with Niall, who put, absolutely fortunate at the football club. That's, and the decisions that were made. Okay, Ellis signed them off, but we had a chairman and an MD and a board of directors, and there has to be some accountability for some of the decisions that were made in that last 10, 12 years. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely, and I think also as well. I just think if you're in the sort of the dressing room at Sunderland now, and you were saying to them, right, we've got the playoffs, and you sort of remember the togetherness of the team in 73 and what it takes to actually achieve something, what would you want to be saying to these players now?
Do it together, do it for each other, but the main thing is do it for the fans. Also do it for your families, for your kids, and and your wives and your parents, and because you get one shot at this. I mean, they have an opportunity to become part of Sunderland Football Club's history, because we won the EFL trophy, and there were heroes doing that. You know, this club, this football, these fans. So I'd be saying, hey, listen, let's do this for the fans. Let's do it for ourselves, for everybody, for our kids, and let's pull together as a group. That's what I'd be saying. You know, football, Matthew, it's a pretty simple game made totally complicated. And a lot of it is about, you know, we're going to talk about Steve Bruce, hopefully, or probably at the end of the day. It's about team spirit. It's about being who you are. And it's about wearing the badge. I wore that badge at Sunderland. I'd have died for that. I'd died for that badge. And that's what's missing, I think, probably maybe in football general. So answer your question, if I'm in that dressing room, boy, I'm saying, hey, listen, we owe it to the fans and we owe it to each other. So let's go down in Sunderland folklore history, like you know, when they got out the third division with Marco and the guys. So it's about the team spirit, man.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree, and yeah, I just hope we can achieve something this season. But yeah, I've just got one more question for you, Maurice, before we do go through your Sunderland 11, and that is, if you could put it into your own words, speak at any extent that you like. What does Sunderland AFC mean to you?
Sunderland AFC means to me, it means my past. It means a lot of incredible memories. I matured a lot at Sunderland. I learned so much from so many people, and I'm grateful to so many people, and being allowed to be an apprentice and being allowed to be a professional footballer. So from a personal point of view, there's a lot of my character represents Sunderland Football Club, and my family as well, and a lot of my friends. You know, I've been held in. You know, a lot of people have kind of remembered me, which is unbelievable, really. And also, I love the club. I love the fans. And there's a lot of great memories that Sunderland Football Club have given me, which no one can ever take away. It was just, I grew up at Sunderland, to be honest. I went from a 16-year-old country bumpkin to a 20-year-old with some life skills, which are second to none when you've been in amongst a dressing room like I was.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's great to hear you speak about that, and you know, I'm sure every Sunderland fan would enjoy that, and yeah, a lot of Sunderland fans, of course, do remember you as well. You know, my dad remembered you. He was very excited to tell me that he said yes to coming on this show. So I'm sure a lot of fans would enjoy listening from you. But we'll go through your Sunderland 11 now. So what formation have you gone for? Is it traditional 4-4-2?
Yeah, 4-4-2, but we can switch it around to wing backs, and we can go traditional. We can go where we are now. You know, so many different people. I mean, it's it's flexible, and I've worked that in. If you look at the players and we talk about the skills and what's out there, you can change this team around to match anywhere you like. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be sort of the current circumstances where we don't really know what formation it is. It means some of the Sunderland fans just think it's the formations are 1-1-1-1-1-1. We don't know who's where. We just know 11 players out on the pitch.
That goes back to what I just said about football is an easy game, Matthew. We just make it difficult.
You know? Yeah, absolutely. But no, there'll be nothing. I'm sure, to be honest, I'm sure it was probably a difficult choice trying to narrow down 11 players to put in a team. But you've got 11 players for me anyway. So do you want to talk us through who you've got in goal?
Yeah, I mean, again, most of these guys I've worked with and I've played with, right? There's only two that I haven't. So that kind of gave me a better insight in terms of what they're good at, why I've picked them. I picked Monty. It was closest because I worked with Jordan Pickford, and Pickers, Pickers was class, and I worked one with him for quite some time, developing him from a personal point of view. And it was a choice between Jordan and Monty, and I gave it to Monty because, I mean, I'll tell you what, if ever you've seen somebody training, you know, Monty was one of the most laid back guys I have ever seen, right? But when you needed him, he came up with the goods there, honestly. So for me, I mean, I've seen him in training, and you know what? I'll share this quickly. I was playing for the reserves when I was a youngster, and I was lacking a bit of confidence before I made my debut. It was about 3 months before that, and with the reserves played the first team, right? And I'm playing centre midfield this day and clean at Washington, and the ball came. Dave Watson headed it out, and I hit it on the volley from outside the box, and it flew into the top corner. And Monty still standing looking at it now. And that was one of the moments when I realised, I tell you what, if I can beat Jimmy Montgomery from 25 yards like that, I must have something good about me. So Monty gets it. I love Monty. He's a total ledge. And he's also done so much again for the former players. You know, it's absolutely quality guy.
Yeah, absolutely. The Montgomery suite of the stadium, you know, before games, he's in there. Not only just him, you know, I think Dick Malone's in there as well.
Yeah.
And you know, I think Bobby Kerr's popped in a few times too. So yeah, I think it's great what he does, and he keeps the legacy alive of the old players. You know, especially even when we had that bad championship season, you know, under Grayson and Coleman, all of the ex players were still in the you know, still walking around the stadium, still meeting the fans, shaking hands, saying hello. Just keeping that alive.
Absolutely. So again, it goes back to tradition and the love of the fans, and you know, once the fans love you, you know, you give 100% for the Sunderland fans, you're not going to go far wrong, I tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jimmy Montgomery is your goalkeeper. We'll head over to who you have at right back. Do you talk us through your decision there?
Yeah. This guy I felt was really underrated as a Sunderland player, Keith Coleman. And Keith came, you know, Keith and I played left and right back in a very successful reserve team. And Keith came in actually at left back when I got injured and when Bobby Park got injured. But Keith was, you know, he was one of the most humblest guys I've ever met. He used to come in with his brolly and his coat, get changed, do his training, get showered and go home. But what a trainer, you know. I mean, he was so laid back, but hey, when you know, Keith could defend, but he could also, you know, he was one of the, you know, him and I used to bomb up the wings. And I've got Keith in there because a great outlet going forward, tremendous crosser of the ball, and just a good egg, a really nice bloke. And again, when I pick this team, Matthew, I'm picking not just superstars, I'm picking guys who've got a heart for the football club, who treat the teammates right, who are respectful, and who actually help me. And Keith helped me a lot to settle in at Sunderland Football Club. But I rated him as a player and as a guy.
Yeah. It's the first time we've actually had Keith Coleman in one of these episodes. So it's really good. It's really good to hear that. And I think, you know, before this, I don't think I've ever heard of Keith Coleman. I think he only played for the club from 1971 to 1973. So and I think he left for West Ham as well. So. But yeah, no, it's fantastic to hear you speak about him there. So you got Keith Coleman at right back. We'll switch over now to who you have at left back. So who have you got at left back?
Joe Bolton. When I was in the first team squad, Joe took over for me because I got injured, you know. But that aside, I tell you what an absolute ledge he is. I mean, Joe and I, you know, we're great mates. We grew up together, but what an absolute lunatic. Honestly, I mean, he is great. I love Joe Bolton. And the fans loved him as well. And the fans loved him for the same reason I do, is because every time Joe Bolton put that badge on, you knew you're going to get everything from Joe Bolton. And, you know, he was consistent. I mean, I like to think I was probably a seven merit mark guy, so I was steady Eddie. I was never a superstar player. And Joe similar. Every time Joe would be first on my team sheet because he was hard as nails. He put his heart out there. It was all about the fans, and he was a great team player. And what a left peg he had. I mean, he was underrated in terms of his skill as well. And you want to see some of the tackles in training. Honestly, unbelievable. So Joe Bolton. I've got some great memories. What a good player. What a great guy.
Yeah, as soon as you said Joe Bolton, the first sort of like phrase came into my head was hard as nails, because everyone who's ever spoken about Joe Bolton, they've always said hard as nails, like to like, and you said it as well. So I mean, it just proves it, really.
Oh, hey, but some of that, Joe just, Joe used to own whippets, and flat cap and stuff like that, and he never moved from his roots. And he loved the Northeast, and he loved the whippets, and respect, Joe. Tip me hat, Joe.
Good. So Joe Bolton makes it into your team there. So okay, that's excellent choice. We'll head to who you got at centre backs. Do you want to talk us through each centre back that you've got?
Yep. Dave Watson.
Yeah.
I played with Dave Watson. I watched Dave Watson train. I watched Dave Watson grow and followed him all his life. But the time at Sunderland, when I was there, Dave Watson was the epitome of a professional footballer. He was humble. He was fair. He always had time for the kids. He was never a big-time Charlie. And he was the best trainer, apart from Dennis Tueart. He was the best trainer I've ever seen. Every day, Dave Watson gave everything in every session. Doesn't matter if it was a five-a-side, a running day, whatever it was. If ever a young professional footballer needed to look at a role model, Dave Watson was that player. And he could play a bit, trust me.
Yeah.
So that's that's why Dave Watson.
Excellent. So so who have you gone with for his defensive partner?
I've gone with Shaun Elliott. Shaun Elliott. I played Dave at the front, and I dropped Shaun behind him because Shaun Elliott, again underrated, but he had 2 feet. He had pace. He was good in the air, and he had a great touch. And I rated Shaun Elliott. Plus the fact he's from Hayden Bridge, which is back up where I live, so he's got something going from there. But no, Shaun Elliott and Dave Watson together. Dave is the kind of front man. Shaun dropping off behind Dave. Not a lot. You've got touch on the feet. You've got reading the game. You got good in the air. I like Shaun Elliott, and I like what he stood for.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people that remember Shaun Elliott, they always speak about him really well and put him in the team. So I think Joe Bolton, Dave Watson, Shaun Elliott, and Keith Coleman as well. You've got a very, very solid back four there that aren't afraid to put themselves into tackles and whatever. And then also as well behind them, you've got a goalkeeper like Jimmy Montgomery. So the first part of your team is done, and so far that's looking like a very solid team. It'd be a very good five-a-side team that already.
Oh, I always like to be on Joe's side. I remember Joe Bolton in a five-a-side game with Bob Stoker, and he absolutely kicked the lumps out of Stoker. Never mind, it's another story. So it was great to see. Never mind. Go on, keep going.
No, that's fantastic to me. All right then, so that's your back forward done. So we'll head now to your midfield four. So we'll start off who you've got over on the left wing first.
Now, are we going right to left or left to right? Is this Dennis Tueart we're talking about now? Which way are you going?
There, we'll start with who you got on the. We'll do the wingers first. So we'll start with the left wing first.
Okay, well, left side. On the left side, I've got Porter. I think Ian Porterfield is on the left side, and Porter's there because what a What a left foot. What an absolute genius Porter was with that left foot. And again, if we go back to old style play, you know, the inside forward, or we go forward to where we are now, wing back. I mean, Porter would have been an amazing wing back. So what I've tried to do, tried to get the balance. Left foot is on the left side and right foot is on the right side, which seems pretty simple, but it doesn't always work that way. So, and again, Ian Porterfield, one of the humblest guys. What a role! He was a big role model for me as well, Ian. You know, and I looked at him, and again in training, he gave. You know, very rare did you see Porter not sweating. He worked hard. He always encouraged the kids, and always had time for everybody. So, but I think Porter, you know, he didn't just score the goal at Wembley. I mean, Porter did a lot of stuff, played a lot of great games for Sunderland Football Club, and I think he was a bit underrated, Porter, to be honest. So that's why Porter's on the left side. And again, it goes back to, it's not just about could he play, it's also about who he was. And you know, I wish he was still here now, but he was a quality guy. He was loved by everybody, Porter.
Yeah. He was, especially, you know, I mean, even someone who played so long ago, he's still got that legacy. You know, scoring that all important goal at Wembley against Leeds. You know, people will remember that, and I'm sure, you know, for the sort of person that you describe him as, I think out of a lot of people, he really deserved that goal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he scored with his right foot as well, because Porter just stood on that right foot. So, but again, back to that final, it was always going to be. And so Ian's on my left side. On the right side, do you want me to go on now?
Yep.
Yeah. On the right-hand side was Dennis Tueart. Now, again, where do you start with Dennis? Dennis was always going to be a superstar, and he was. You know, Dennis was always going to play for England. Dennis was always going to be a top-notch Premier League footballer. He was always going to win trophies, and he was always going to be Dennis Tueart. And you could see it, you know, just by the way he used to walk into the dressing room. You know, I mean, he had Gucci stuff in his bag long before anybody else ever sussed it out. He had his hair gel, he had his hair shampoo, he had his aftershave. But Dennis, what a trainer! Again, you know, I mean, Matthew, it's like everything in life. You get out what you put in, right? Dennis Tueart, Dave Watson, all the guys in my team, you know, worked hard. And if you do that in everything in your life, you're going to get rewards some stage. And Dennis was always going to be the man. And, you know, he was quick. He was brave. He had an unbelievable touch. He was good in the air. And he chased back. You know, he did his job. But Dennis had the aura of star written all over him long before and then when he moved to City with Mickey, you know, I mean, that was the start of something. I wish we could have held on to Dennis for another couple of seasons, because I think we maybe would have gone a lot further. And that's when I go back to that time when we maybe missed out 2 seasons after we won the cup. But Dennis Tueart was never going to not be in my side. Absolute quality. And again, him and Derek Foster were big mates, and you know, they weren't big time Charlies. You know, they weren't big time Charlies. Dennis can come across a bit like a big time Charlie, but he's not. He's a really good lad. So Dennis was always going to be in my team.
Yeah, excellent. Again, you got some really strong wingers there, and again, lovely to hear you speak about Dennis Tueart there. So we've got your wingers, we've got your goalkeeper, your defenders, your wingers. We'll head now to your central midfield. Now, so far, this looks like a very solid central midfield, but can you please talk us through who you've gone with there?
Yeah, well, I'll talk about Brace first. Yeah, because the other guy is somebody I'll need a little bit of time to speak about. Yeah. Paul Bracewell, I haven't played with Paul, but I know Paul, and I've met him a few times, and he's done a lot of charity work for me, Paul Bracewell, and I thought he had an amazing touch, great vision. Wasn't the quickest again, when you look at the other guy as well. So, but Brace could pass it, could play a pass. His first touch, and he had a brilliant mind, Paul Bracewell. He could see stuff before it was there. And I think that's some of the things that we're missing at the moment is someone who can see a pass, who can pick a pass. And Paul Bracewell would be my creativity in there, because I thought he was like a Rolls Royce. Paul used to just and again he played for both the Black and White Sandhurst, and that's not a bad thing. Trust me, just because he played for Newcastle or whatever else, I like Brace. I like him as a guy, and again, that's one of the reasons why he's in my team. But the main reason is his vision, and again, you got what you got from Brace, and I like them a lot, and that's why he's in the team. His creativity and his gift to pick a pass.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was fantastic. I think I'm pretty sure he had 3 different spells at Sunderland. But yeah, he's a fantastic player there as well, and someone who wasn't just a player as well. I think he was also assistant manager at Sunderland. He was Sam Allardyce's assistant manager, and David Moyes' assistant manager as well. But it still, it just shows how good he was to still be involved. And yeah, so Paul Bracewell is I absolutely is an excellent choice. So Paul Bracewell's midfield partner, who have you gone with there?
This was a no-brainer, this one. This guy would get in any one of my sides, no matter if I was picking a World 11, right? Kevin Ball. Now, there's a personal reason why I've got him in there. One is because he's a big mate of mine, and I love what he stands for. And he has helped me. I work with a lot of charities, and again, a lot of the work, and all the guys in my team, a lot of them have helped me, help other people and help children. And Kevin is a quality guy, top man as a person. And again, the fans love Bowley because actually you've seen some of the tackles and you've seen what he does, but he could actually play Bowley. I didn't just kick people. I've had Bowley probably in front of my back four or centre mid, and what a motivator. Yeah. So, I wish we had a Bowley in our dressing room at the moment, because I tell you what, we'd have been promoted by now. So Kevin Ball, total edge, top guy, great, and also a footballer who wore the badge. He lived for that badge, and you need players like that in your team. And he would make every team I ever pick. So Kevin Ball, and he would be, you're going to ask me who's going to be captain later on, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, would he be your captain, wouldn't he?
That's my captain. Yeah, without a doubt. Armband, Kevin Ball, no problem.
Yeah, fantastic.
No problem whatsoever.
Do you think Kevin Ball would be someone who you think should be still like more? Obviously, he's still involved with the club now, but do you think that he should actually be someone who's in the dressing room at the moment?
To be honest, right? I mean, I think I cannot believe. Let's say we go back the last 10 years, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He should have been involved. We had a spell where there was no connection between the dressing room and the boardroom. Yeah, there wasn't.
Yeah.
Because we went off and did all sorts of stuff, making money, but we forgot about the football. Bowley should have been the go-between, like Bobby Moncur was at Newcastle, between the dressing room and the board. Someone who knows football, got all the qualifications, but actually understands the fans and as well understands the dressing room. So when you go from boardroom to dressing room, you need someone like Bowley in the boardroom, because So for me, he should. I mean, Bowley Paulie should have a senior role in that football club. And if I was a young lad taking over right now, I'd be looking and saying, okay, how can I bring this leader into this football club again with the legendary status that he has? Total waste at the moment. So you made a great point there. I totally agree. Yeah. Totally
I mean,
agree.
for someone who's from the South Coast and then moved up to the Northeast and has stayed there, clearly the club's had an effect on him. And I think he would have been brilliant just to remind people who they're actually playing for. Yeah, I mean, what a person you got there. But I agree. He needs to be used in a bit more, because what he can offer is a lot more than anyone else. Because I think people at the club, when you're looking for someone to fill up a certain role, you're looking at all these different clubs, but sometimes you just got to look at yourselves and your own club and realize who you've got in your own club. See Kevin Ball, they go, well, he's only a club ambassador at the moment. Why don't we use him for a bit more? But I don't know.
Matthew, let me tell you something, right? I worked with Bally for 3 years at the academy, right? Steve Bruce era. Bally and I used to do life skills, and I worked with the guys. This is where I met Jordan and all that, and I've watched, when he was youth team under 18s head coach, right? I tell you what, those players knew what was right and knew what was wrong, and not one of those guys would say boot with goose, because Kevin, the absolutely most of them absolutely worshipped the guy, and you when he left, you've lost that kind of momentum in terms of bringing through the values, the morals, the behaviours, and these are important parts of a football club. It's an important part of a family, Matthew. And so for me, well, Mr. Trick, I mean, Boy needs to be there somewhere in a higher role. So sorry, Matthew, I'm rabbiting there.
Yeah, no. That's what we want to hear. I think Jordan Henderson, when I think he might have won I can't actually remember. He won either an individual award or when he won the Premier League or the Champions League or whatever. And he was doing a video, and almost the first person that he thanked was Kevin Ball. That was almost the first person that he thanked, because he said he made him come through and he understood that football wasn't going to be something where you could come in and earn loads of money and stick your feet up and play on a Saturday and go home and to your mansion or whatever. You had to really earn every single bit of it.
Yeah,
and that just proves it, really.
I mean, if you ask Jordan Pickford, he'll tell you the same thing. When Jordan got his first cap for England, first person he phoned up, Kevin Ball. Then he phoned me.
Yeah,
because we work, So you're right there. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess you and Kevin Ball were the dream team in the academy, and I think
I love working with Kevin, and we had a great time there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, fantastic. That's great to hear. So, Kevin Ball makes it in your team. He's your captain, and he's going to make sure that he encourages everyone, gets them all over the line. So, right, so we've only got 2 more players left to go through in your team, and that is the strikers. Now, obviously, I think was this a tough choice?
It was for Kevin Phillips, because I looked at Gary Rowell as well. Because Gary was my era, and I watched. Gary came through as an apprentice, so I got a lot. What a touch! What a first timer! He was a real scorer of goals, Gary, and so Kevin Phillips just pipped Gary Rowell in my one of my strikers, and Kevin Phillips again. What a finisher! I mean, anything around the box, everybody said everything about Kevin Phillips, but he could also play number 10 as well. If you go back to if I want to play a big man up front, who's coming next. He just to feed off each other, and very intelligent player. And again, he loved Sunderland, and the fans loved him. And again, you don't get the status that Kevin Phillips has in Sunderland without putting some sweat and leaving something for the badge out on that pitch. So Kevin Phillips, again, just pipped for me, Gary Rowell. So Kevin Phillips up front. And then the other guy was obviously Niall Quinn, and couldn't go any and again, what a lovely guy Niall Quinn is, right? I remember one day it was my dad's 70th birthday, and we had him out at somewhere near Stocksfield, and Quinny came in with a couple of his friends, and he saw us there with my dad and my mum, and he came over, give me a big hug. I introduced him to my dad, give me dad a hug, and sent over a huge bottle of champagne. And that was Niall. That was who he was. But I tell you, he could play a bit, Niall Quinn. He could play and good in the air, but he had a fantastic touch as well. And those two together, I mean, you couldn't go much further than them. So, that's my 11. And it was tough. It's been, but in there, if you said, okay, if I'm managing that squad of players, why have you picked them? The number one reason is because of who they are and what they represent. That's why they're in my team. And then you look at, okay, what do they bring to the team? And that's my team. And it might not be the superstar team, but I'll tell you what, I'd put my mortgage on that team any day.
Yeah, of course. It is. Yeah, of course. It's your Sunderland 11. It doesn't have to be the best 11 or whatever. It's your 11, and I think even with the players there, I mean, in the fantasy world, we would have loved to have seen them all play together in their prime. That would have been fantastic. All right then. So with every team, obviously you need a manager. So who have you gone with as an ex-Sunderland manager to manage this team?
Well, obviously I looked at Brownie, who gave me my debut. I looked at Bob Stokoe, and then I've looked through the years, and this is they'll probably switch off now. But I actually watched Sunderland a lot when Steve Bruce was manager. And I worked with Paulie and I worked with Steve Bruce at the academy. So those people who don't know Steve Bruce, don't fully understand who Steve Bruce is. And during his time at Sunderland, he brought in some good players. Yeah, he was, he'd win, we'd go on a run of wins, and then suddenly, bosh, we'd go on a run of, we'd step back again in terms of, the fans would lose patience. So we had ups and downs with Steve Bruce. But I really believe Steve Bruce loved the club. And I believe Steve Bruce has a lot of bottle, because you got to have a lot of bottle to do what Steve Bruce has done in terms of going to Newcastle now. And I know, there's bad blood there between the fans or whatever, but hey, it's all about the Northeast for me. I love the Northeast, and Steve Bruce is one of our own. He's from Corbridge, so again, you've got Hexham, Corbridge, Haydenbridge. There's a consistency there. Matthew, Kenman Jones, I thought was a good signing, or Darren Bent, Stedman, Bronk, Katz. So it's a personal it's a personal opinion for me. I thought Brucey was unlucky at Sunderland. And I remember when we blew him out, and I remember who we brought back in his place. And since that moment, I don't think we've got it right yet. So, you've got to, don't be careful what you wish for in this life. And so I like Steve Bruce. I think he's a likable guy. I think he's very resilient, and he has had some success. I mean, hey, he's had success, so it's not all bad news. Plus, as a player, it goes back to the reasons why I picked that team, Matthew. Hey, he gave it everything, day in, day out, at Manchester United and wherever he's been, and I believe he does that as a manager now. So, bit controversial, but I've been honest, and he was always good to me at the academy, and I listened to him, and that's why I think he could galvanise these players without all the history that's gone ahead of him. If we were picking Brucey as manager with these players, I think he could do a job. So there you go, Matthew.
Thank you. Yeah, but fair enough. I mean, yeah, you know what, Steve Bruce, when he was manager, we were doing well. You know, maybe not when he was sacked at that exact time, but you know, the season before and the season before that, you know, we played fairly good football, and it was only, I think, in the 10-11 season where we had Asma Jean, Danny Welbeck, that season, the season where we lost that sort of 5-1 game, which wasn't very good, but that season, it was only towards the end did we start to drop off, but we still finished 10th. You know, we actually could have done a lot better that season, and you know, you think we would like almost dive to get in the top half of the Premier League again. You know, and to think that we were complaining, you know, well, maybe not complaining at that exact moment in time, but you know, it's funny how quickly football can change.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the other things, you know, I mean, I love the fans, and let's say you're in Stadium of Light, right, and you've got 43,000 people around you. Yeah. Now, to be a footballer and play to your ability in front of 43,000 people, especially Sunderland fans and Geordie fans, you know, you've got to have a bottle to do this. You know, people forget this, right? I mean, I played in front of 50, 60,000 people, fine. But when you're younger and you've got, like, take our team right now, yeah? Part of the problem is actually having the bottle to play, because being a Sunderland Football Club, it's always going to be a pressure. Anybody, like whether you're a manager, chairman, whatever, if you have signed your allegiance to Sunderland Football Club, we are a big club. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, if I was investing, this kid now, if I was investing 5 to 10 years in this football club, what an investment this could be for him. You know, what an investment. So, you know, for me, to cross that white line, Matthew, as a professional footballer, represent the Sunderland Football Club, you've got to also have some ball. You've got to be able to play, sure, but you've got to have the ball to carry the weight of the expectation of Sunderland Football Club. And that's something that I think has been lacking for quite some time. Because we don't want the fans to change, you know? But to be a footballer, you've got to have some ball.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And I think, I mean, it's, as you say, it's something we've been lacking for such a long time. And you know, hopefully, one day we'll, you know, we'll get it back. I mean, at the end of this season, if we do manage to actually get promoted, what I mean, that just breeds confidence. And I think one thing I think that obviously, like, I'm a 17-year-old Sunderland fan from Essex, right? I'm not a footballer. I'm not involved in professional football. But here's one thing I think that it'd be good for, like, the manager to do is sit the players that we have down at the moment and put on like a game like Sunderland against Chelsea where we beat them 3-2. It was nearly, actually, I think yesterday, it was 5 years ago to the day that this game was. Yeah, exactly. And you go, like, look at the atmosphere, like, of this match. This is what you could play in front of, you know, if you actually perform and believe it. I think, you know, that's just what I think, to be honest.
No, hey, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So, Matthew, if you imagine I'm your age and I'm making my debut, how would that feel for you?
Yeah, that's mental. That'd be absolutely good. I couldn't imagine it. I can't even, like, I don't know. It's hard playing 5-a-side sometimes. I couldn't imagine making my professional football debut.
It's 17. Yeah.
It's 17. Good. Yeah. But no. But anyway, Maurice, I mean, it sort of does bring us to the end. We've gone through your team and your manager as well. But yeah, no, thank you very much for coming on. And I've got one last question before we do leave the viewers for yourself, and that is if you had a message to the Sunderland supporters watching, what would you like to tell them?
Well, first of all, there's second to none. There are no supporters like Sunderland supporters. And then the other message is keep the faith and encourage. Keep the faith and continue to have the passion that you have and show for the city, and because it's also about the community, and we need you, and the football club needs you, and you need the football club. So be patient, keep the faith, and you're right, we will get back to where we belong. But be patient, because it's going to take at least 5 to 8 years to get back. And I just love Sunderland fans, and I love the town, the city. So keep the faith and be patient.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for that, Maurice. And thanks for everyone watching as well. Of course, you should know by now we are in association with the Sunderland Food Bank and the Sunderland Fans Museum as well. So I'll leave the links to them in the description below. You can go check them out and donate what you can. But for me and Maurice, everyone, please do stay safe. We'll see you in the next episode. Away the lads.
Away the
Cheers,
lads. Thanks, Matthew. Loved it.